Ja, velkommen alle sammen til filmfestivalen i Tromsø. Det festivalens første dag. Og velkommen hit til Kulturhuset og til Filmprat. Mitt navn Karsten Meinik. Jeg redaktør i Montasj, et nettmagasin som har et samarbeid med her på filmfestivalen om å ha disse samtalene med regissører og andre involverte som besøker festivalen med sine filmer. Og I will turn to English because we have a guest from far away here today, and we will start with you and your film. Nishtha Jain, your film Gulabi Gang is screening at the festival, and it will also have its Norwegian premiere Friday this week. Okay. So your film is a documentary, a feature film documentary. It's called Gulabi Gang, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here who has not yet seen the film. So it would be great if you could tell us just what this is about.
Yeah, Gulabi Gang is the name of a group of women in central India, and they fight for women's rights and for the rights of Dalits and against corruption. So they're not entirely focused on, I mean, their main agenda is women's rights, but they also look at other problems in the region. So they have a pretty wide agenda, which I find very interesting. So the film follows the gang, and especially the leader, Samtale. And so through following her, we get an access into the society, which otherwise would not we would not be able to enter and get an access to this society the way we do through her. So the film is really stories that she's also trying to solve, and it's a very interesting viewing experience because it's very racy. And it's a kind of a social, investigative thriller, drama kind of a thing. So yeah, it combines a lot.
It's funny that you say that. As I was sitting there in the darkness of the cinema, it's kind of striking how, as the film begins, these bright pink pieces of textile, and you can see sort of close-ups, and as we go wide, we can see that this is a group that separates itself or stands out from its environment, and I kind of find that very interesting. And as a filmmaker, it must be nice to have found a theme and a group that also visually has this very strong pose. How did you approach your story, your character, also from a visual standpoint like this?
Yeah, that was very important because it also, Bundelkhand also has in the winter has a lot of these pastels. It's dry. So and the pink really stands out against the dusty landscape, and I think I mean, I like to work visually with the films because what visuals convey, I feel, of course, words convey a lot, but visuals convey a cinematic feeling, which is really important. And so we decided to shoot in the winter, when it's not so much green, and we can get these browns standing against pink. So that was one decision in terms of how the film should look visually. That was very important.
So you shot at the winter to get the right visual?
Yeah, main thing was in the winter, but you also see a lot of foggy scenes because there's a lot of fog. And but we shot over 5 months. It got colder. Through September, you see a much more green in the landscape, like in the beginning scene in the train, etc. And then it gets drier. I wanted that feeling. But in a documentary, you can't plan everything.
No, I was gonna.
So, and it was important also the choice of camera because we decided to move with the camera, which is because we realized that her pace, we had to keep with the pace of the women. Yeah. They're often walking fast and moving into areas very quickly, and things are happening all the time. So we had to have a suitable camera and not like, something big, and we didn't do like tripod shooting.
No, so you have more like a mobile crew. Yeah. But what you say about planning in documentary, I find that always interesting. In one way, you have filmmakers with a very strong aesthetics, and they approach documentary with their kind of auteur, whatever, and at the same time they track subjects or characters that are wildly either irresponsible or impossible to schedule something around. Last year we had a Norwegian film about an artist called Push Wagner, and in that film basically the filmmakers let him control how the film is going to be made because it's impossible to control him, so why not let him control the film? And here it's interesting, I would say, that there's so much drama. I mean, the conflict level on a micro scale, but still very important. There's a young woman that is murdered, probably burnt. It's horrific images, but it seems to happen so much around this group. And when you were you were with them, but you were also chasing a certain kind of drama, I'm sure, to make your film narrative.
Yeah.
The relation between coincidence and planning, how did that work out?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the most interesting part in a documentary, but I feel you really have to plan a film. I mean, because I don't like to do just coverage, like you reach there and you get something. I think it's very important to have a plan. And then you can go ahead and abandon the plan, but because things are changing. But if you have kind of a graph, if you've thought of the film and a narrative graph, then you are also looking for a certain kind of thing. Of course, you can't make things change because of that, but what it makes you is alert. For example, when I found this story, I realized that it would be very important, instead of having this film in a non-linear fashion, it would be interesting to develop a narrative. So when I found this particular story, then we said we are going to try and look at the story from every point of view. How does a case unfold? Like, are they going to be able
almost
to bring justice?
Investigation.
So
almost,
it becomes like an investigation,
yes.
but it's more like at the level of the police, bureaucracy, at the level of the village, people, mother.
Yeah.
So then it becomes like an onion opening, you know, and
yes.
a layer. So that is more like, I know I want to do this, so I would follow this. You know, I mean, I make it a point that we have to be here and at every place to get it. So that's important because there's so many other important things that are happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So you have to focus on what you want.
Yeah.
So.
But so you have this one enigmatic main character, and she's also here at the festival today, which must be great for the screenings later, and you can do an introduction together. And I also felt that the film takes place very far away from us. Watching this story from Norway, as you explained, with the layers of the society, just in the village, there's this village chief, and then there's the police officer, there's corruption, then there's this women's group, then there's the family structures.
Yeah.
It can be, you know,
daunting.
Yeah, but it must also be such a challenge for you when you're editing this, and also you're reaching out to a larger audience.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to explain just how Indian society is stitched together?
Very difficult, very difficult.
I'm not sure I understand it, but I wasn't confused during the film, but it's still...
But it took us like 7 to 8 months of editing this film to make it also like, you know, for the international audience.
Yes.
It would be much easier and there would be perhaps a little more subtlety if it was just for an Indian audience, but and you know, I mean, in that context, I really want to bring out the international aspect of it. This is a Norwegian film, and we worked, after I edited it, we worked together with the Norwegian team to really, you know, get the international, and then we tested it. What is it that people will understand here? Because some of the things people don't understand at all. Some of the basic, like what we take for granted. I had to understand the mind from here to really understand, and then we put it together. Like I added in a beginning which wasn't there, so people couldn't understand the context. Yeah. So we have to really, I call it like cross-cultural translation. That's a very important part of international projects, and it's good. It's not like it doesn't reduce the film, but I think it makes it for universal use.
And it also challenges the storytelling, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Like as a filmmaker, you're built. I have to think about this.
But I think it's a very good exercise for me because you know I always think about people like Charlie Chaplin. Of course, they're working in silent cinema, but you know you can show their films to villagers in India. Yeah. And I think any good filmmaking should not be should not get limited just because there's a cultural context which other people will not understand. Of course, I really enjoy screening it in India because then you get the response to every nuance which may or may not happen here.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, most part of the film is reaching out. So,
Yeah.
And then there is Q&A.
Yeah.
So,
you just keep telling the story after the film. You can.
Yeah.
But so there's a Norwegian connection here. I guess we have to step into this because Norwegians
Norwegian
love to hear about Norwegians being involved in greater parts of what's happening outside.
Yes.
You have a Norwegian producing team.
Yes.
How did it come about? How did you meet and how did you join up forces on this project?
Yeah, I mean, I was independently working on this film, and they were two. And they were also working because Gulabi Gang had already become quite popular.
Okay, so they had recognized the same,
but they were working with another director. But later on, when they found out that I was also working, we decided to meet and make the project together. It's good for both of us. So it's a win-win situation. Yeah, it's a win-win situation. So it's a Norwegian production, and I'm also a co-producer. Part Danish co-production as well.
Okay.
So it's.
And when did it start? How many years ago did you meet?
We met in 2010, but I started working in 2009, and they started working also a few months later. They had developed already a trailer to raise funds. I had also done the same.
Okay.
And then it takes me time because I'm from India and we don't have documentary funds. So it would, take me really long time to raise the money. So this joining the projects is good because, too many films was not going to do anyone any good. And they were very interested in Indian director as well because, the language makes all the difference, knowing the culture and the nuances. So the film is also what it is because the team knows the language.
Yeah.
And that makes a hell of a lot of difference.
Yeah. I want to go back into the film.
Yeah.
So we have this incredibly moving scene where you arrive at this family's house. And I didn't even realize this dead woman was going to be there. I was, as you said earlier, we are discovering the story. It's unfolding in front of us. And suddenly this horrific image of almost like a sculpture. I'm thinking we have a Norwegian quite famous sculpture artist. He's called Gustav Vigeland. And there's this big, very famous park in Oslo with all these figures, human figures, like crying out in pain or, holding their baby. There's this very famous sculpture of a small boy screaming, being very angry. And horribly enough, this woman who had been burnt, she's as if she's frozen. And that image, just shooting it and putting it in the film is kind of, it must be there, it's part of the story, but it's also gruesome. Did you arrive there? We
arrived into the room and it was quite dark, so we were quite shocked. So it is as you see in the film. My cameraman, he put off the camera. He didn't want to shoot. He says, so while this whole scene was going on and Sampath was talking to them, we were discussing, we were having an intellectual discussion about...
Because she's fearless.
She's fearless. But we were discussing, can we use the shot in the film or not? And he says, Nishtha, you're not going to you use this shot in the film. It could be sensationalism. So we were standing there and discussing sensationalism on the side while this was going on. And I said, look, let's just shoot for now, and then we'll see what to do.
Yeah.
So I kind of convinced him because me and my camera person, we also work together. We need to be very sure about what we are doing, why we are doing it. The ethics of doing whatever is very, very important. So we were standing on the scene, and then he changed the aperture because it was dark.
Yeah.
Exposed it for the correct thing, and then we got the image. But there was a bit of a time when my assistant was taking those photographs. Anyway, it was a very, very shocking thing because I think there is a danger in such kind of a scene of sensationalizing it.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very, very careful of it. But I think we are all very sensitive, so we managed to. Sort of not, we still manage to dignify the moment. And that's very important because otherwise you can just be very accumulative, you just grab, okay, there's a good image, just grab. I don't work like that. So that's very important, and I hope that I think in the end it's not feeling that way. That here is a moment, and we are kind of sensationalizing it.
I didn't experience it as sensationalizing.
It was
also because it's part of the telling of that story.
Exactly.
It's not in your face as we enter the room. I did not expect it.
It's important that when you enter the room, it's dark and you can't see it. So and then you're just hearing. So you're mentally prepared, and then you see that image.
Yeah.
And I had to think many times before using it.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to use things. So yeah.
But it feels very much like the story.
Yeah.
So I think you're on safe ground there.
Yeah.
And as you sort of finish a project like this, and there's this political movement of great importance, a project for them is of course also important. It can heighten the attention, and at the same time you're making your story. And I guess that without spoiling anything, the narrative takes a couple of unexpected turns, because in a way I expect any kind of project like this to just support its story, because there's a good case behind it. But in a way there's two sides to most. Do you feel like the film has, what kind of position does the film have now for this group, or what is that importance to you?
See, I mean, I wasn't making a promotional film for Gulabi Gang, so that's important. I mean, however much I might like their work, I have to work as a filmmaker. I have to produce what I feel is the reality, or representative of reality. Yeah. So that's what I was doing. I mean, I think the film raises very important question. The Gulabi Gang itself is made up of women who are very much entrenched in the same social system that they're trying to uproot. And I think that's the important question today. How are we going to change the system while we belong to it and from inside of it? So some people have to make some sacrifices or make some bold moves.
Yes.
And are we ready for it? And that's the discussion that should happen in India. Yeah. And I hope that the film can be used to promote that dialogue instead of having just a completely feel-good film and you feel
exactly. Yeah.
I don't do that kind of stuff.
I guess my prejudice before watching it was this, because so many documentary films go down that alley. And in the end, you feel like these people have revolutionized their society, and next time you go there will be no problems.
I
but
think
mostly the truth is that it takes hard work.
But it's good to have reservations like that.
Yeah.
Because and I was also a little bit uncomfortable that I don't want to make such a film. I mean, if it was true, I would make it. But if they are, I mean, I think my job is to tell the truth, and I don't mean. I mean,
Yeah.
In whatever way, whatever means. Yeah.
So our time is sort of running out.
Yeah.
But you have just arrived. Your film will be screening throughout this festival here in Tromsø, and also in Norwegian cinemas around Norway. So I just wanted to wish you very much good luck this week. Meeting the audience here, people will come over and talk to you, I'm sure. They're actually much more open here than in the south. So I hope you will get to feel some of that.
Okay.
And thank you for coming here to Kulturhuset to talk with us. And hopefully we'll see you later with another project.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.